once a week.
Oh,
Right,
nice.
Leo? I used to do once a week. Yeah, and I've been lazy lately. I got a bunch of content that I haven't released yet. So I'm trying to get better at that.
Yeah.
With
Just
the
get you a
holidays.
VA, dude. Just have them fucking do that.
Yeah, you're right. I need to do something. Yeah, Brandon's team is freaking awesome.
Oh, is his team the one that like does all the editing and stuff?
No, Leo does this part, and then I've been doing the aftermarket stuff myself.
Okay.
That's why it's been kind of slower.
Gotcha.
If I were to have somebody, it'd be better.
Nice.
We're recording, so feel free to start whenever. Do you want me to turn the timer on for you?
Sure.
Sweet.
Got it.
Hell yeah.
It's Miggle Motive, right?
MovtivMiggle.
MovtivMiggle.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready to get going. Ready? All right. It's another episode of Knowledge to Currency, where knowledge is power and currency is king. First episode of 2025, and I'm lucky enough to have Miggle Motive on the episode.
Hey, what's up,
Welcome
guys?
to the show.
Nice, dude. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, so good thing about you is you're part of the family of Margaritas and Mingle crew.
Oh yeah.
Good friends with Brandon. He was telling me about you before I ever met you, and I was like very, because I came from a background of working at the banks, and the whole point of this podcast was to like find the people that are the gems that are doing things the right way with integrity and stuff. So when he was explaining your business model, the things that you do, help people get business funding, you hear that stuff all the time, and you hear people that aren't doing
Fulfilling.
things on the right way.
Yeah.
just
Or
kinda
doing
taking
sketchy
money.
shit. Yeah.
So when I finally got to meet you, I asked you all the questions. And
I remember that. we were standing in line at Coffees and Creators. I was like, because I was the first, because I'd seen you multiple times at Margaritas and Mingle. For some reason, I was like, oh shoot, I'm kind of nervous because this guy's like the one that runs it. And then when we started chopping it up just in line at coffee, I was like, oh, this guy's hella chill. And it was just like, I thought it was like very cool that you were just like very interested in what I do, because I was just like, I feel like I kind of look up to you. So I was like, it was cool for you to like, I don't know, just like actually care about like what I do, you know?
Well, it's about I guess the fiduciary duty that when you take money from someone, you're responsible.
You have to fulfill. Yeah.
Take care of them. Like we talked about it. There's probably, I guess, the three things with business. Number one, you want to be able to actually provide a service, fulfill the service, and have it be a great experience.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And what I like about you is that you really are about that. You're like, I want to make sure that I'm helping people. I want to make sure that they're able to elevate their business by getting the funding. So let's kind of talk about this. So for the audience, what this episode is going to be about is his business basically helps you get 0% funding. And helps you basically get more capital to run your business. And he has a lot of techniques and ways to do it. We've been talking about it for like a month, and finally we've made time, and he's been gracious enough to come here and bless us with this knowledge. So I want you guys to not only seek him out for help, and I'm endorsing him, Senator endorsing this. That's
yes,
hilarious.
let's go.
But also I want you to learn during this episode with the questions I ask and with the information he provides. So
yeah,
I want to tell you I appreciate you being a part of this, coming to my movement, and you're one of the good ones out there.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it.
You, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about it. So how did you get started in this, I guess, this lane? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So actually, I'm gonna take the story back a little even further, just to give it some context. But yeah, so basically, right out of college, my dream was to work in the event scene. So I used to throw like spring break festivals for college students. Long story short, it was a great job. I was like the MC. I would DJ. Imagine this guy freaking just partying it up, getting paid to do that. And
with the hair alone.
Yeah. Got the business in the front, party in the back. So it was a great job, but honestly, being that young, being that irresponsible, being that much of a degenerate, I ended up getting fired from that dream job. And I was actually kind of like homeless for a little bit. I was literally sleeping on other people's couches. Like I was like sleeping in my car for a little bit. So it was a really, really super low point for me at that time. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go work a normal corporate job. I know this isn't going to be forever, but I just need to get back on my feet.
Right.
Did that. And like literally from day one, when I started working for that company, I was like, all right, like, I know I want to start a business. I know I don't like listening to other people telling me what to do. And like, I know I want something that's mine.
Right.
Right. I didn't know exactly what it was going to be. I was looking at e-commerce. I was looking at that was like the main thing. I was looking at crypto, but I was like, all right, this is a little too risky for me. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of those schemes online. I'm sure there's some that do work, but like for me, I want to limit my risk. So and I knew I wanted to do real estate at some point, but when I was in that low point, working that job that I didn't really like, I was like, okay, I know I want to start a business. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I also don't have money. So like, what good is even studying e-commerce, real estate, if I don't have the money to actually start it, right? So that's when I started studying up on credit. And, you know, once you start typing anything into Google, now you're just going to start getting hit with a bunch of ads. And I started getting all these offers for like credit stuff. And there was this guy I was following for a while. I was like, all right, fuck it. You know, I'll pay the $2-3 grand or whatever to get into the coaching program. First time I ever paid for coaching. And I feel like what took me a long time was I was always thinking like, you always hear those bad stories of like, oh, it was a scam. I didn't really get anything out of it. And at the time I was like, whatever, it's COVID. I'm living at my parents' house rent free. I'm making like $5 grand a month. Like whatever, I'll gamble into it. Honestly, that course kind of sucked. Like how we were talking about, you know, you want to do good business with good people who could actually fulfill. I still learned a lot because I was still new to it.
Right.
But like anyone with a base knowledge would have been like, all right, it didn't really help me get funding, but it opened up the door for me. Ended up investing into another coach that really taught me the game.
Okay.
And then from there, I was just like, all right, bet. Now that I know how to actually raise capital at no interest without having to spend, you know, a year of my life saving my money away, I could get into this business now at no interest. And one of the first businesses I got into was like e-commerce.
Okay.
That was doing well. The business partner that we were working with kind of screwed us over. So again, another example of making sure you're doing business for the right people. And I feel like and I'm sure many of the people here watching, like anyone who owns a business, you're not doing business right if you've never been screwed over. That's just part of the game.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you want to minimize that, but taking the bad experiences I've had, I'm like, okay, I know what people are looking for. They want more of like, if it's coaching, they want like somebody to actually sit there with them, make a custom plan, walk them through, be available. And that's what I did when I started doing coaching.
Okay.
And then I recently pivoted to a done for you model just because one, you're making more money, but two, from the client perspective, right? If they're doing real estate, their business in making money is buying and selling more houses, not learning how to raise capital. So they didn't have the time to learn it.
Right.
And I'd get people on as coaching clients for them to later find out. It's like, dude, can you just like do this for me?
Right.
So that's actually how I pivoted and got into this space, was just, you know, it started off as a personal problem for me. And I would just, when I started this, I also got into Airbnb arbitrage. I would just post my story and people would be like, oh, that's so cool, asking questions. And I'd go out, they'd be like, oh, can you get me funding? I'd do it for free, get them like $50K on one card, and then they'd spend it, grow their business, and they'd be like, hey, can you help me get more? And I was just like, no. Dude, this cost me hella money to learn and cost me time. Like, I'm not doing this for free. And it actually, I stumbled into it. And then also I was working for one of like the top like credit coaching programs out there. I was like the #1 salesperson there for the last 2 years. I made them over like $1 million, took them from like 20 to 2,000 students. And the reason why I was able to do that was like, I bought the program. So I knew, and I actually used it, and I was like, oh shit, this thing actually works. So like when I talk to people, I'd be speaking with just so much conviction. I would know how to overcome like any objection. And something I would even do is like, and this is actually what inspired me to get out, like quit that job and start my own business, was because to close deals, I would literally tell people, I'm like, look, if you sign up right now, I will literally coach you one-on-one on getting your first round of funding just to close the deal. Cause I'm like, dude, I know this works. You told me what you want. I'm confident in me. to do it, and that's what I did. And then at that point, I was just like, well, I'm doing the sales and coaching side of this. Really, all I need to learn is the marketing. And then once I got into that, I quickly realized there was so much more I needed to learn.
Yeah.
But it took me like 6 months of not making money and just learning the system. But I'm like very grateful that I just kept pushing through it, because by the time that 6 months ran up, started getting my first clients and just making a shit ton of money and helping them make a shit ton of money.
Right.
And that's all business is. One of my coaches told me is like, look, if you want to make $1 million, go make 10 other people $1 million like that, because no one's going to pay you if you can't help them. You know what I mean? So that to make a long story short, that's how I got into where I'm at now, and we're just crushing it. 2025 is going to be a huge year.
So quick overview with all that you put together. One, you went with the first coach, it didn't work out, but you learned what not to do.
Yeah, what to look out for and what not to, what you don't want.
What you don't want your business to be. Next, you went to somebody that is a proven system, work for them, learn that system, and then like, okay, I can improve this system as well. So then you say, okay, now when I start my business, I know what not to do, I know what to do, and I know how to improve what to do.
And something I would tell like anybody here, if you're just starting out in business, something I wish I learned a long time ago before all the other failed businesses I tried to start, and that's just part of the game. But like, if you're looking to start a business, let's say in real estate or coaching or something, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. They want to be the boss. But if you're young and don't really have that much experience, like you're not shit, right? So what I learned from my experience was I worked for a top company, became the best at their company, learned everything on the back end. And yeah, I wasn't the boss yet, but I was getting paid to learn. I was making a shit ton of money just slaying in credit coaching programs. And my big key lesson here is before you go be the boss, if you don't really have enough experience and you're afraid of going through that 6-month trial period where you don't make any money, go get paid to learn and work for somebody and work under them. And then after you've provided value to them for a couple years and you know their back end system, go start your own. And that's how I got into what I do now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the quickest way to edify yourself. That's the quickest way to learn and get paid to learn. Like the lessons you got were expensive. Like $3,000, you didn't really get anything out of it other than what not to do. And, but if you're actually getting paid to learn this information and to see somebody do it at a high level, you really can't beat that.
Yeah.
I kind of talk about that. Even if you work at Starbucks, that's a, multi-million-dollar company. There's stuff you can learn from working at Starbucks. And then you can leverage those skills that are transferable to something else.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people, like, if they aren't doing exactly what they want in the beginning, they're just like, all right, whatever, I'm going to half-ass it. Right. And I've done that before too, but like working even at that company I didn't want to work at, I was like, all right, well, I know I'm going to need to learn sales when I start my business, so let's be fucking good at it. Right. I didn't like the product, and quite frankly, I didn't know exactly how it worked because I never got to use it. It was like a fucking $100,000 like accounting software. Okay. But like the fact that I still took the job seriously, even though I didn't really like it, helped me get to where I'm at now. So like, if you're in a shitty position right now, instead of bitching and complaining about it, make the best of it. What can I learn from this, and how can I take this into the next life, the next chapter?
That's awesome. All right, I got some questions.
Let's hit me with it.
Hold on. Let me pull it up. So, I was gonna say, what is a 0% interest funding, and how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually a huge hack that a lot of people don't know. So like, if you're just starting a business, or even if you already started a business, typically how people want to fund it is the first thought is, okay, let me save for it. But the problem with saving, right, is it's going to take a long time. And during those months or even years of you saving, that's time of you not in the game and learning, right? So like, let's say it takes you a year to save up for a house. You already just wasted a year of not being able to learn by being in the game now. Right. So I don't say you should definitely still use savings, but what I tell people is like, if you could get $100K at no interest and get into a deal now, and then put that $100K that you were gonna save into I don't know, something safe to where it's just going to appreciate. Like worst case scenario, if the 0% doesn't work out, you have this thing that you're already going to use the savings, and then on top of it, it grew. Right. So as far as that, like you have the options of savings. People will go out for real estate specifically. They'll do hard money loans, which is like 12 to 15% plus like 2 to 4 points, which, you know, that quickly starts climbing up. That's taking away money from your profits. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you could use 0% on top of that, that just means you're borrowing less and you're keeping more in your pocket.
Nice.
Other option is giving away equity of your business, which personally for me, I don't like the idea of that, because if I'm pouring blood, sweat, and tears into this project and you're just giving me money, I don't want to give away like 10% or whatever it is of my business. So where 0% comes in is a lot of people don't even know this is an option, because the way our system works is there's hundreds of banks out there. Like a website I want you guys to look up is bankbranchlocator.com. Okay. This is an absolute life hack, because this will show you every single bank out in the US, and you can filter it by the state you're in. So immediately you already know all your funding options. And a lot of these banks, they'll offer 2, 3, sometimes even 4 0% business credit cards. So the idea is, let's say we get $50K on one card with Chase, and they have 2 0% business credit cards. We could get another $50K with them. So $100K just with one bank. And the thing with this is usually 0% business credit cards, there's 0% for 12 months. So you do need to have a plan of being able to pay it back.
Exit strategy.
Yeah, you need to have an exit strategy. And, you know, like I said, one of the exit strategies is if you're already going to use savings, just park that into a safe bet that's going to appreciate. So like worst case scenario, if you can't pay that, if your investment doesn't pay back the 0%, you still have your savings to rely on. And on top of that, it grew 5 or 10% within that year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So how 0% works is, I always tell people, keep your savings, go invest that in something safe, use the 0, and that's your backup. The 0% is what's going to get you guys into deals now and help you guys scale and grow. Because like, for example, like if you're doing like a fix and flip, right, you could, if you're going to go through a hard money lender, they're going to require 10 to 20% down, just straight up cash on a house. So that's like 50, 100K right out the door. Most people don't even have that.
Right.
But it's like, if we could get that 100K now, you flip that house and you just made 200K in profit, pay the 100K back on the 0%. Now you have 100K to play with it again. And on top of that, you're saving money from the hard money lender, because that's another 100K you didn't have to borrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or versus like borrowing from family. Some people borrow from family. They still may have interest acquired to that. You almost have a little bit more independence if you can get 0% from the bank.
Exactly. And that's actually a big thing that I hear a lot of people talk about, is just like, oh, I got to go raise capital from like friends or family. And it's just like, okay, but then now you got to do this whole pitch deck and really convince people. But it's a lot easier to convince the banks to, hey, give me 50K or whatever, 100K to go in on this project, and they'll give it to you, you know?
So you do the 0% online, or do you have to go to an actual bank like old school?
A lot of it's online. Okay. So the way our whole system works is like, I recommend a lot of people like go out and try to apply for a business credit card on your own. But the big issue that we see that happens is people don't know really what they're doing. They don't know what the bank underwriting requirements are. They don't know what they want to hear, what they want to see on the application. And what happens is they'll go out and apply for a bunch of cards with all these banks, and they're only getting like, they're either getting denied or getting like 5K, 10K limits. And it's just like, what the hell am I going to do with 5K? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On one card. And like I said earlier, a lot of these banks have multiple cards. So like if you go out and apply for a card and only get approved for 5K and try to apply for another one with them, odds are that the approval limit's going to be around the same, versus if we get 50K right off the bat, next card's going to be somewhere around there, if not more.
So you're saying you can get 2 cards from the same bank?
Mm-hmm. And
I could have did that with Navy Fed, bro. I got 1 card. I should have got 2.
Yeah, you should, dude. And the cool thing too is like,
I blew it.
Nah, it's all good. We'll recover. So, but the cool like hack with this too is if you have multiple LLCs, right? Let's say I borrow 100K from Chase, you know, I invest it, pay it back. you could apply for that same card again using the second LLC.
What?
It's fucking crazy.
How old do the LLCs have to be?
So that's the other thing too, is like some banks care. Again, it's you need to have that insider knowledge of
Right.
which banks' requirements and what they care about. But like some of these banks, like I literally, like even personally for me, when I started Airbnb arbitrage, I was making like $2K a month, still living at my parents' house, broke as fuck. Started the LLC. It was like maybe a month and a half old,
Okay.
right? Had great credit. I knew what they were looking for. So when I went out and applied, you know, I had low income, no business revenue, obviously, since it was a new business. But because I knew how to play the game, I was still able to get approved for a 25K card and a 50K card in a matter of
Wow.
weeks. And literally that like 75 grand in
Yeah.
Airbnb arbitrage, I was able to take my business from 0 Airbnbs to 7 within a year. You
Right.
know,
So
so
that changes your whole financial picture.
exactly. And then obviously the assets are going to pay itself off. Quick story too is like I remember I got into a deal. I purchased 2 units from this lady. She was kind of a piece of shit. Found out like we had the contract and everything all, and she was just like, "Hey, actually, I don't want you doing this anymore. The neighbors are tripping." And I'm like, "That's not my problem. Like we signed a contract,
Right.
you know." But basically, she was just like scaring the crap out of me. So I was like, "Whatever. I'm just gonna back out of this deal." Lost a bunch of money on that because I had to pull out. And so obviously I still owed that debt. So for most people, they'd be scared like, oh crap, how am I going to pay this off? The backup plan too with that is like the exit strategy is a lot of people don't know is there are ways to extend the 0% terms for multiple years,
Oh.
right? So usually it's only 12 months. Let's say in the case for me, the ROI term was typically 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
But in that case, since I had to back out of it, I was like, holy crap, how am I going to pay this off?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of once that 0% term expires and I'm paying like 25% interest on the card when it expires, I was able to go out, leverage my relationship with another bank, grab that money and use that to pay back the first cards.
Oh, so you
And now I
did
just bought myself.
balance transfer.
Yeah, exactly. So I did a 0% balance transfer. Something else you could do too is there are ways of pulling the cash from the cards without paying that cash advance fee. Because normally banks are going to charge 25, 30% just to pull the cash out.
That's a lot.
But there's a system where where you only pay like 3 to 6%, which is
Okay.
way better. There's literally like 5 times less,
Yeah.
right? So,
So like that's a hack too, because if you need emergency funding to get into a deal, I mean that affects your funding. If 25% of your money,
yeah.
I mean that 100,000, 25 grand,
Yeah, just to take it. And you
just
haven't
to
even made
use
any
the
money yet.
like that. That's man, that's
Yeah.
not good.
So exactly. So that was actually how I was able to take, a shitty situation and be like, okay, there's a way out of it. I'm just going to extend it for another year. And I made the money through my business and I was like, okay, cool. That's paid off now. So now we're good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then, wait, I got questions, but there's other questions coming up. I want to make sure we touch
Oh no, you're good, dude.
all the points. 1 second.
But yeah, we're dropping major hacks here, guys. So y'all better be taking notes or something.
Yeah,
I'm
make sure
dropping game on you guys.
Your notepad ready.
Yeah.
What things do bank and credit card companies don't want regular people like us to know about?
Yeah.
'Cause
So
you said the credit profile. That's
yeah.
important.
What do banks not want you guys to know? So like I actually already kind of touched up on it. It's just like one, they don't want you knowing that you could extend the 0% terms because banks, they make their money on interest, right? And a lot of people would be like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Why would a bank want to give you 0%? And it's just like, okay, well, it's not forever, right? So you still have to have that exit strategy, right? And they make their money on the interest if you don't pay it off within that allotted time frame. But if we know how to extend it, then they're never getting any interest. So that's the hack right there.
I can add to that too because I worked at several banks. Big thing they make money off is fees.
Mm-hmm.
So late fees. If you think about a bank doesn't really have a service.
Yeah, they just hold money.
They hold money. They need us to put money in the bank, and they need to deploy money to make revenue. So then they need us to get car loans, houses,
Yes.
all of those
Credit
different
cards,
credit
yeah.
cards. So if when people were scared, like during COVID, like they couldn't collect money because the government said you gotta defer these payments. So all that time they didn't make money, and then because of that, that's why rates are high now. From loans, auto loans, all that. There was a time during COVID you couldn't find a used car. Like
Yeah.
they were giving you like top dollar for your used car because so many places were giving 0% interest or super low interest rates. So I would say that's a hack.
Yeah.
Anyone other one you want to add to it?
Yeah, definitely. So extending the 0% terms, like I said, pulling out the cash because again, they want you paying those cash advance fees. I would say as far as being able to qualify, something a lot of people don't know is like they know the basic stuff, right? Have like a 700 credit score, don't have any negatives within the last 2 years. You want to have at least 2 or 3 personal credit cards with at least like a 5K combined credit limit, just because again, a bank's not going to want to give you 50K if they only see you with one credit card with $500. It doesn't make sense,
Okay.
right? So a lot of people know kind of like the basics of what the credit profile needs to look like. And that just kind of gets your foot in the door with the banks to at least consider you. But the major thing that moves the needle forward the most is like, do you know what that bank's specific underwriting requirements are? Are you just applying online or are you applying through a senior level VP relationship manager? We want to leverage those connections because they have a lot of influence on the underwriting process.
Got it.
Versus if you just fill out an application online, your application just goes through a computer algorithm and you end up getting like, you might still get approved, but you're getting like 10K versus like 50K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's like if you were to apply for a job online versus if you actually knew somebody that worked at the company and they know the right position that fits you and they say, hey, I know a guy.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you still to apply online, but they're going to pluck your resume out right away.
Yeah, and be like, hey, this guy came in through Miggle.
Right.
He's already sent us a lot of business. Let's give him funding. And the other thing too is just like you need to know how to be able to properly communicate what your business is and like what the plans are to the relationship manager, because you want to sell them that, hey, we're going to make money and be able to pay this back. Because it's the biggest thing they care about is like, can this guy pay it back, or is he at least going to have enough money to pay us the interest? It's really all they care about. So knowing the right scripts of how to communicate it, because sometimes people might describe their business in a way that makes it sound more risky, or they don't know how to fill out the applications or something. Because a lot of business or a lot of banks, they base their decision off of one, creditworthiness, underwriting requirements, the relationships, but also on like the potential of the business. And that's why when I was saying I was still able to get approved for 25 to 50K, even though the business didn't have any revenue, we're basing it off of the projections that it was going to make based off of like, averages of people within this industry. So those are definitely the things that the banks don't want you to know. And I think a big reason why this information is so important and why there's so many people like selling like coaching programs for this is like, this isn't common knowledge. And if it was, like, a lot of these hacks would get patched up, so like the only people who should really know this are people who are like have like a serious business. Obviously, like you don't want to come in here, grab 300K at no interest and just be an idiot with it, right?
Yeah, you want to make sure a plan for the money.
Exactly. And like I've always noticed the people who pay attention, and they're more serious. But if this knowledge is just so readily available to just like anybody, then the lowest common denominator type of people are just gonna like take complete advantage of it with no plans of paying it back. You know what I mean? And I think that's why a lot of this isn't common knowledge, is kind of kept like hush hush,
Well, let's talk about some fun stuff that you do with this. So have you used any of this to do travel points or hacks with that?
Definitely.
Yeah, let's talk about how you can use credit to do traveling for free.
Yeah. So beyond just the business side of things, like this is one of my favorite things to study is travel hacking through credit cards. So
okay,
I was just telling you guys, so I'm literally leaving to South America in like 8 days. So I'm going to be there for like 2 months, which is pretty fucking badass. Like I feel like I've been working my ass off to like manifest this type of nomadic lifestyle that I've been able to create for myself. But with credit cards, whether it's personal or business, the other cool thing that I recommend everyone is like, if you're using a debit card, like cut that shit out. Like keep it in your wallet if you ever need to pull out cash. But like, why the hell would I use cash or a debit card that doesn't get me points? Like if I'm gonna pay it, if I have the money to pay it off, why don't I leverage a credit card that I'm technically borrowing the money, but I know I'm gonna pay it off immediately, but also I'm getting 2-3x points that goes towards travel. And literally this trip I'm going on, I'm doing 2 weeks in Guatemala, 3 weeks in Brazil, 3 weeks in Colombia. Most of that, I got all the flights just through travel hacking, just leveraging the points. I would stack up a bunch of points that would come from my personal and business expenses that I was already going to spend the money on, but now I'm being rewarded for it. And now I'm able to literally, this trip is probably going to be like 5 to 10K just in travel. That's like probably 80% of that is all funded just through the credit cards.
So I guess niche that down. You're going to pay your cell phone bill. You're going to pay your car insurance. You're going to pay for these things every single month. What he's saying, instead of paying directly to those companies, put it on a credit card and pay the credit card off every month. That will increase your credit score, but it'll get you these points, and then you could be chilling in Colombia and Brazil with this guy.
Exactly. And just for anyone who's interested in travel hacking, I would say kind of like the way it's structured, the main things you need to care about is one, sign-on bonuses. Because like these banks will give you like $500 worth of like free travel just for opening up the right card and making the proper spend limit, and they'll just give you $500 just for doing that.
The car.
And a lot of that, or they'll give you like cash back. So for a lot of the clients that I work with, like a big thing that helps people get excited for it is just like on top of us getting you the funding and you being able to invest this in your business and like 10x or whatever that we got you, we're also going to get you like a minimum of 3K in cash back or worth of travel. So it's just like, all right, once you go invest this money, go celebrate and use the cash back we got you to go out to Brazil or come meet me up in like Colombia or something. So a big thing is just sign-on bonuses, knowing which cards to make the spend on, just because some cards will give you like 2x or 3x for, marketing expenses. So knowing how the points are going to come in. And then the last thing is, how am I going to transfer these points to the right like travel partner? Because they'll have a lot of these promos where it's just like, hey, you transfer this 1 point over to, let's say, like United, it's going to be worth 4 points. So now you're getting 4x worth the value of what you got, and you're saving a shit ton of money just off that alone.
Does your coaching program talk about this kind of stuff too with them?
Yeah, definitely. So I still do coaching. This one's a little bit more exclusive just because, like I said, one of the things I learned going through this business is like, I want to help people. And then sometimes clients will come into the program and I'm like, why the hell am I following up with you more than you're following up with me? Like you said you wanted this, and like something I would do kind of what we're going back to of, wanting to do business with the right people who are like trustworthy is like something I would do is just like, look, the program's like, let's say $7,000 or whatever. But just to build up trust, I'll put you on a lower like weekly payment plan. I know I could get you funded in like 30 to 60 days. Just pay me off with the funding with that. And something I would see is just sometimes the clients weren't as invested as I was. And it got to the point where I was just like, I'm trying to get paid. I'm just going to do it for you. Just give me all your information. So I'm not as heavy on the coaching unless the client's already been a good client to work with on the done for you side.
Right.
Or if I could just tell like, okay, this is my boy, or like just off the phone, I could tell this person's a real action taker.
Right.
And then, we'll walk them through it. But yeah, to answer your question, all about teaching about funding, optimizing the credit, and then on top of that, how to actually travel hack.
Which all important things, because imagine like every year you take a trip with your family and you use these points to actually do that and not have to pay additional money out your pocket.
Exactly.
That's just some amazing stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I was gonna ask you, you told us about your background. Let's talk about your purpose. What's your purpose of why you're doing all this? Because obviously you want to make money, you want to travel with your girlfriend all over the world. But let's talk about your actual purpose.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of goes back to literally what you just said is just like, you know, you want to take your family out and travel. And personally for me, like, I remember a couple years ago, I was living out and spent like 2 months in Puerto Vallarta, spent like 2 weeks in Mexico City, and it was the fucking best time ever. And I remember while I was out there, like, one of the things that kept ringing in my head, I was like, fuck, my brother Charles would love this like nightclub, or my little sister would do this hike. I would take pictures and videos and send it to them and stuff. And they were like super happy for me. But I'm like, I want to experience it with them. And like the biggest motivation for me is like my mom, right? My parents were both farmers, like literally from the Philippines, third world country. They used to sleep literally on the dirt, like no bed or anything. But they were just like hardworking farmers. My mom, I feel like a big goal is like, I see my mom, she was like one of the siblings that changed the projection of the family for like of generations to come, because
Let's go.
She came from the
what's her name?
Gina.
Gina.
Yeah, that's
Shout
my
out
mom.
to
I
Gina.
love you. It's for you.
That's dope.
But she's the reason why I do a lot of this. Like, I see how much she worked. She raised a family of 6 all on her own. Was pregnant with like 5 kids the whole time she was going through medical school.
Wow.
And like she just retired like literally this year, and like worked her ass off for me to, you know, go be a degenerate, go to college. And like I feel like I owe it to her, and also myself. It is also a big thing for me. And like she makes her own money, but like one of the big goals I literally wrote on my mirror that I'd see every day is just like, you know, within a year, I'm going to turn this coaching business from 0 to 100. I'm going to take my family on a nice vacation, and I'm going to be able to provide for them. And I mean, this goes for women too, but like as a guy, personally, like your goal should be to be a provider and like a protector. Like that's personally mine. And I feel like this might be like old school values, but like I respect it. Like we're the hunters. Like we need to go out and fuck shit up. Let's go like work hard, build something for us so that we can take care of our mom, our siblings, you know, our intimate partner, our family, whatever it is. And that's always been something that I always keep on the forefront of my mind is just, you know, she worked her ass off, and, you know, she doesn't have as many years as I have. So I'm like, for me, I need to go hard now for the years that she still has. So, and like, so that when I take her to fucking, I don't know, Japan or something, this is at an age where she's still able to walk or go on a hike or something.
Right.
So yeah, that I would say that's like the biggest thing that's been pushing me, like really just all throughout my life, just seeing how hard she's worked, how she's been able to change her family projection. And I'd say out of me and my 5 siblings, I'd probably say I'm the most like ambitious when it comes to like these type of big goals. And you know, this year the goals that I'm manifesting is I'm saying this like now, so a big like manifesting hack is like really envision it and like say it like in the present. Like I own a 7-figure business. I'm a world famous DJ, and like that just by talking like that and like reliving it in your head, like keeps me motivated and eventually get me to that goal of like being able to take care of my mom, my family, and everything like that. So
I mean, I love that because it starts with you first.
yes,
If you don't believe those things, how is everyone else going to believe those things?
exactly,
You know?
exactly.
And then another thing that you touched on, I love, is that making money is awesome, but if you're just making it by yourself,
it fucking
I mean,
sucks.
yeah,
It's kind of
like,
boring.
you're like, all right, well, I don't got anything to do today. Then you call your friends, like, hey, man, I'm working, I'm hustling, I'm trying
Yeah.
to do this. And then you start hearing the struggle of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be that person to, like, lift everybody up?
Exactly.
Not only we make money, but you make money, he makes money, everyone makes money. And then when the bill comes, we're all fighting to pay it.
Yeah,
Versus,
exactly.
like, you always having to pay it.
Yeah. And
know?
the vision I have too, like I've lived this in my head, is like the goal that I want with my family. Like I want to be able to call my brother up, like Charles, or like my little sister Sabrina, and be like, yo, you want to go to fucking Japan or something? They're like, it's a Tuesday. I'm like, yes.
Right.
Okay. Let me put it on my credit card points. Let's go.
Right.
You know, like that's the pinnacle of where I've lived it in my head. We're going to get there. And it literally just starts like every day, literally believing in it, fucking going hard. And just continue pushing through like the pain or just like the uncertainty. I think that's the hardest thing for people. I know, especially for me starting, and what you guys might be facing as well, is just like, oh shit, is this going to work? You know, like if you're studying to be a doctor, it's kind of like okay, just pass these tests, take this internship, and you're making $200K a year. Versus in business, it could be a very lonely road and very uncertain. But I promise you, if you continue to push through it, you will get it. And something just to add on there, like a big hack and why I truly believe in the service that I sell is like with business credit, right? Have you ever heard of the story of the gold miner?
Maybe.
Okay.
I just hear it.
Yeah. So you guys might have seen it on Instagram. It's like a visual. It's this one guy, he's pickaxing in this tunnel or whatever, and he's literally like 5 feet away from like gold, right? And then there's this other guy who just kept going. And I think something a lot of business owners face is like, right, they'll save a year to start this business. You know, they're not making money for the first 6 months. And then they just quit because they're like, oh, this doesn't work or whatever. But like literally those failures or the lack of like making sales or revenue throughout that whole process, you're learning lessons on how to become better. But if you run out of money to keep it going, then you literally have no choice.
Yeah, you're out of the game.
You're out of the game, and all those lessons, all the money you spent was for nothing. Right. And what 0% helps people do is like, especially as a startup, you already know you have some sort of burn rate because you're not going to just be making tens of thousands of dollars within the first day, week, or even month sometimes. And had I not had access to that funding, you know, I would have never gotten to get that first sale that was like, okay, fuck, this is going to pay off all the, at least some of the expenses that I already paid.
Yeah.
And now I have proof of concept and confidence that this is going to work. So that's like a big life lesson hack that I feel like a lot of people don't understand. Is just like, yes, debt is scary, but if you have those exit plans and you have the faith and confidence in yourself to be able to figure shit out, then, you know, there's no reason why you can't win.
Yeah, give you time to perfect your business. From what I'm hearing, from what you're saying, it'll help you have a better business plan so you can get funding. I've been studying about grants.
Okay.
So imagine putting both of these together. So you get 0% business credit and you get grants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could be money that you can use to grow the business as well. Then
Exactly.
You can hire people, give people opportunities, help build your community. Like, so many things can happen from this. So that's why I was excited to have you on the show.
Yeah, dude. I appreciate you having me, dude. I feel like we got these guys a shit ton of like value.
Yeah,
I'm hoping at least if you guys got questions or anything, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to answer, and you know, we got tons of free trainings and resources out for you guys.
Yeah, if they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, so I'm super active on Instagram. That's my whole life is on Instagram. So I'm at MovtivMiggle. That's MovtivMiggle. And then I also have a free Facebook group. It's called Family Legacy Funding. If you guys come join, we do free trainings once a week. I actually did it this morning. So it's every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Might have to change that when I go out to South America, but that's what it is right now. But yeah, we do free trainings. We have a 800 plus community of other business owners, real estate investors, all out there trying to get it, optimize their credit, get funding. So that's the best place to find us.
And well, let me tell you from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you coming on the show. I love your story. And if you guys need funding, this is the guy that I endorse.
Thank you. I appreciate it, dude. It means a lot.
Is there anything you want to say before we exit?
Yeah, I guess I'd say it's the beginning of 2025. You get the choice if this is going to be a big year for you guys, whether it's starting the business, health, relationships, or whatever. Like, I'd say big thing that I've been applying just within the first couple weeks of 2025 is just my word and affirmation of this year is unfuckwithable. Like, and a lot of us, we get in our own way. Like, even starting this business, I was just like, fuck, like, you're not good enough. Like, why would anyone want to like trust you or invest with you or whatever? Mm-hmm. Like, now I feel like I've been having this unfuckwithable confidence of like, no, I know I can fucking do it. I've already done harder things and I've already have results to show. Even if you don't, like, that means doubling down on your vision. And I feel like I have a clear vision of exactly what I want for my life. I'm becoming unfuckable, and I encourage you guys to do the same.
Yeah, I love that. It starts with you. No matter what it is, you gotta believe. If
Yeah.
you don't believe, it ain't gonna work.
Yeah, it sounds so corny, but like,
Yeah.
dude, it all starts up here. If you could relive this vision that you see in your head and just obsess about it and talk about it, pray about it, write about it every day, you're naturally going to start, okay, like, what's the first step?
Yeah.
And then you might not see any results after those couple steps. When you do, it's like, fuck yes, we have proof of confidence. Let's fucking do this.
Yeah,
Like, we're ready to go.
Document it too.
Document
Whether
it.
Be videos that you make, stuff on Instagram. When I look back at this show, when it started 2 years ago from where I am today, way different.
Yeah.
night and day. I was on my phone, talking into my phone, making YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Or not YouTube, making podcast
Yeah.
episodes in COVID. And now
Yeah.
got a
Now we got the studio. We out here, dude.
People recognize me on the street. So yeah, but it all came to me. I remember my uncle said, "What do you know about like podcasting and stuff? What are you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
so don't let people that don't understand what your vision is stop you from doing your vision, because you know it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's the scariest thing too, is a lot of people are afraid of other people's judgment.
Yeah.
But just take the fucking first step. Like,
Yeah.
and like you said, if you commit to it long enough, and I promise you, being able to look back at where you started is gonna be very cringy and embarrassing. But you're like, yo, we out here in a studio, baby.
Right.
We came
Exactly.
up. Let's go.
Exactly. Well, if there's nothing more, in the words of Dr. Dre, just chill till the next episode, and thanks for watching.
Peace.
Let's go.
Let's go. Hell yeah.